I feel like in today's society, we are validating our children too much. We're like making every emotion matter when not every emotion is worth a certain type of reaction. For instance, if you don't get candy, that's not worth being like, oh, you know, you need to just sit in sadness and be sad about the candy. Like, no, you just need to be told no and just move on with your day. Hey guys, welcome back. It's Missy, and today we're gonna talk about how to manage your emotions and go from and deal with any of your uncomfortable emotions, and how to switch them up just like that. So first things first, your emotions are not a bad thing. Your negative emotions are not a bad thing. They're here for a reason. And sadness is here because there's a loss or there's some sort of change that's happening, and it shows that it's a period of growth of something new is coming about. Even if like you deal with a loss, there's a loss and you now have to deal with some sort of change. That's what sadness is here. It's here to help us to get through some sort of change or loss or some sort of pain or hurt. And then anger is here for many different reasons. Anger can come out as a secondary emotion because we're not dealing with our pains, or we're not dealing with something, so it comes out in anger. It could have been a learned behavior. Anger is a learned behavior. It could come out because we feel mistreated, and it's here to protect us, of like, don't do that to me. You've crossed a boundary. You've hurt me. You're causing danger to me, and I'm going to make sure that you don't do that thing. That's the reason for anger. But anger can be misplaced, like I had mentioned in the beginning. So, you know, they all have different reasonings for why they're here, our negative emotions. They're not bad, but a lot of us have been taught that our uncomfortable emotions, you know, on my channel I like to call them uncomfortable, not negative, because negative is seen as a bad thing. Our uncomfortable emotions are not a bad thing, but we're taught often, like, you know, in your childhood, you're told not to cry, or you're told, you know, knock it off, or whatever it is. You were shamed. You were told to go to your room when you're having, you know, an emotion that your parent maybe or your caregiver didn't want to deal with. So they could be seen as bad when they're not bad. You just, as a child, you need to be taught how to deal with your emotions. And because in childhood we're not taught how to deal with our emotions, we then don't know how to work through them. We don't learn how to regulate our emotions. That's our parents' job to do that. We don't learn that. So yes, as adults, we don't learn how to regulate our emotions. And so then we will avoid our emotions, or we'll do the same thing we were taught in childhood. And so we don't know how to get through them. And they'll just sit inside of us, and they'll come out in panic attacks. They'll come out in anxiety. They'll come out in depression. They'll come out in passive aggression. They'll come out in so many other ways. So here's the thing. There's big emotions, and then there's the smaller emotions, and that's another thing that we need to be taught. I feel like in today's society, we are validating our children too much. We're like making every emotion matter when not every emotion is worth a certain type of reaction. For instance, if you don't get candy, that's not worth being like, oh, you know, you need to just sit in sadness and be sad about the candy. Like, no, you just need to be told no and just move on with your day. There's other things where like you're sad because you didn't get to go to the baseball game you wanted to go. You know, you can sit, that's medium, you know, a reaction, you know, kind of feeling sad and then moving on with your day. And then there's big sadness where your best friend just moved away. That's a big change that hurts, you know, and so you need to deal with that sadness. So we're going to talk about, you know, the little to medium sadness. And then we'll talk about how to deal with the bigger sadness. Or not just sadness, I don't know why I'm just looking at sadness, but like the little to medium emotions, how to cope through those, and then how to move through the bigger emotions. So when you're dealing with something that's, when an emotion comes up, you need to classify and say, okay, is this worth a small reaction, a medium reaction, or a big reaction? And you're the one who gets to determine that. No one else can tell you. You get to determine that. So if it's something small, like you didn't get to have your cup of coffee for the day, that's a small reaction. How you can navigate through it is be like, oh man, I didn't get to have that cup of coffee. And you replace it with another emotion. So maybe you didn't get to have that cup of coffee, but you do get to talk to someone really cute at the office, or you are working on a really cool project. So you switch from being disappointed to an exciting part of your day. That's how you switch emotions immediately. For something I do, like with my baby, let me tell you, as a parent, you're not a bad parent if sometimes you want to just throw your kid. Like, just because when you have a toddler, I have a toddler, they hit, they kick you, they yell at you, you just want to, like, your first reaction in your head, I don't think any of us do act it out, but your first reaction is like, I want to hit back. You're beating me up, I'm about to react. But most of us will withhold. I know I do. And the thing that I do is, in that moment, I take a deep breath, because it's natural for when someone's beating you up, you want to beat them back up. You know, it's natural. But in that moment, when I get that thought, I just take a deep breath. And I then change it to the feeling of love. Like, because I've always wanted this. I've always wanted a child. I've always wanted children. And this is what I've always dreamed of. And so I immediately turn that emotion to love, of like, I love you. Obviously, I say, you know, don't hit, I'm putting you to the side, because you're not keeping us safe. Obviously, I deal with the, you know, issue, but it helps me deal with the issue better because I come from a place of love and I switch that emotion. Because I know they're not doing it on purpose. I know it's just they're learning how to deal with their own emotions and trying to learn how to, you know, navigate through the world. I know it's not personal. And so that's the same thing, is identifying the situation and realize that these things, like these small things that are happening, it's not because it's happening to you or it's personal or whatever it is. Like, it's just something that's happening, and you got to learn, you can switch that emotion quickly by thinking about it differently. So that's, you know, with the small and even the medium reactions. You know, when something medium happens, you maybe need to sit in it for a little bit and just be like, oh, you know, this sucks, like I really wanted that. And like, maybe you need to feel that emotion. You need to just identify it. I'm sad, I'm angry, I'm hurt, whatever it is. Be with it for a moment and then pick yourself back up. You know, what can you do instead? What is in your control in this moment? And then you focus on that. And then for the bigger things in life, this is where it's hard, because a lot of us want to run away from the scary big things. It's easy to deal with, like, you don't get the cup of coffee or whatever, but it's harder to deal with like a loss, or it's harder to deal with a disappointment or rejection or not getting what you want, or someone's hurting your feelings. It's harder to deal with those things. And so those are the things, is that you need to acknowledge that it's happening. So a lot of us will run away and just maybe not acknowledge, or we will immediately try to distract ourselves, or we'll dismiss it and be like, oh, that's not happening, or it's not a big deal, or make us feel bad for feeling that way. No, like, acknowledge it. Like, I feel bad and I feel sad, or whatever it is. Acknowledge this is happening and you feel a type of way about it, and then sit with that emotion. Allow yourself to feel it, genuinely feel it. Like, I am feeling this type of pain, or I'm feeling, you know, hurt, and just sit in that. Don't judge it. Don't tell yourself you shouldn't feel that way. Don't even try to fix it. None of that. Just be with it and just feel those emotions. And whenever you're ready, maybe you're a beginner and you have to set a time limit for yourself because it can be too much, overbearing, or whatever it is. Journal about it. Journal until you feel like it's all out. Journaling, I 100% recommend doing that. Just let it all out. And then once that is, that's when you practice self-parenting and self-soothing. And this is something that I talk about a lot on my channel, and a lot of people, that's why they run away from their emotions, because they don't have that ability, or they don't know how. It's like practicing self-compassion, practicing soothing, practicing, you know, comforting yourself. And it's not just a one-time thing. It may need to be something that continuously happens. And saying like, I love you, I'm sorry you're having a hard time, like, I'm here for you, I got you, you're not alone. You know, telling yourself all the things that you wish you heard. And once you're able to be with that emotion and work through that emotion, then you can distinguish, okay, what do you want to do? You know, maybe you need to change the way that you think about this thing that is happening. You can always replace one emotion with another. That's how we move on. For instance, something with like envy. Something I've struggled a lot with in my life is always envy. Since I was a child, I was an envious child. I wasn't jealous, because jealousy is when you're afraid of someone taking something that's someone taking away something that's yours. It's envy is I want what that other person has, and that's something that I struggle with. No shame in that. I struggle with envy, and a lot of the times envy comes from insecurities and telling yourself a certain story. Like for instance, if someone has the job that you want, you tell yourself that you tell yourself this story that like they have the best job and they're having an amazing time and they're better than you, and you tell yourself all these things when it's not even 100% true. Really, in reality, if you probably talk to that person, you would see the things that they're struggling with, the insecurities they have, you know, how hard it actually is. Like you will see the good and the bad. With envy, a lot of times you talk it up and you see things in a much prettier light than it is, and you think that it's much better than it actually is when you have it. And so what the emotion you replace envy with is like appreciation of that thing, and maybe even showing appreciation and gratitude for that person and the skill set they have for getting that job. And once you're able to appreciate them, you're able to also appreciate yourself and see the good about you and say, okay, they have that thing and they're good in those certain areas, and they have some flaws that I'm maybe not aware of, or maybe I am aware, but these are my strengths and this is something that I'm good at, and I can have those things too. What can I work towards? What can I have? What can I do for myself? And you're switching that emotion from envy to appreciation of this other person and yourself. It's a practice of gratitude. So you can, any emotion, try me. We can come up with a plan of how to switch those emotions and how you can work through them. Oh no, it went dark. Oh, okay, you can kind of see me. Okay, my light died. We're working with it. Okay, so there's that, and there's also like, you know, you then can think again, like I mentioned before, think about what's in your control, think about what's not in your control, and what can you do with the situation at hand. Sometimes this is how I've always lived my life. If there's something I can do about it, then I will do it. If there's nothing I can do about it, then I will change the way I view it. And that has helped me tremendously in my life. I'm someone where I've been through a lot of bad things in my life, and people are like, how do you not feel down? Like, how do you have such a positive attitude? And it's generally because I truly let things go and I focus on what I can control. Does that mean that I don't have anxiety or bad things? No, absolutely not. I'm nuts just like everybody else, but it's easy for me to not let things get me down because I focus on what's in my control and what I can do rather than what I can't. And you feel so much more empowered when you focus on what you can do rather than what you can't. So what do you guys think? Leave it on in the comments below, and please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share with someone that you think may need it. And don't forget to check out my 6-page free workbook that is linked down below on how to cultivate more worthiness. Until next time, thanks for watching. Bye guys. I think that I could get away with getting a thumbnail. Is it that dark? Hopefully my boobies aren't boobying and we do feel mistreated. I don't know where I'm going with this. Should I do this? I don't know. Let me read. I thought I heard someone at the door. I'm a millennial. I don't answer the door. Any other millennials that don't answer the door?